There's a specific feeling you get when you stand down here on Sydney Harbour. You've got the Opera House on one side, the Harbour Bridge on the other, and a wisp of salt air coming off the Pacific. It's one of those views that immediately tells you you've arrived. But I'll be honest with you, for a long time I struggled with how to bring our wheel and anchor community to Australia. It's a massive country, and most tourists try to do too far and too much. They spend half the time in airports and the other half rushing through monuments just to check them off a list. For us Canadians, it's a long way to come just to feel like you're on a treadmill.
So we did the opposite. 3 cities, a full week in each, you unpack 3 times in 3 weeks, and that's it. We start in Melbourne, which Australians will quietly tell you is the country's real capital of food, coffee, and ideas. Then we fly south to Hobart, in Tasmania, the smallest state capital, sitting on the oldest stories. And we finish off in Sydney, where this whole country announces itself on the water. For those who want one more chapter, there's an optional few days in Port Douglas at the end, and I'll come back to that because it's the one with the Great Barrier Reef in it. Each city gets 7 nights, enough time that the neighborhood starts to feel like yours. You know where the tram stops, which cafe knows your order, which streets reward a second look. That's the whole idea. Australia is too far away to skim. Melbourne is where I'd send anyone who thinks they already know what an Australian city is. In the 1850s, gold made this one of the richest cities in the British Empire, and you still get a sense of that era in the streets with their grand Victorian arcades and a Gothic skyscraper that they managed to throw up in just 11 months during the Depression. There's also a whole slew of laneways that the city handed over to street artists and cafe owners rather than just gutting them. Our first walk together goes right through the middle of it. And then there's the coffee. Melbourne takes it seriously enough that I need to show you.
Part of Melbourne coffee culture is these very unique styles of coffee that we just don't find at home. This is a magic, which actually consists of 3/4 ristretto and the rest filled up with flat white milk. It's incredible what they do here with their coffee. It's, I think, probably the best place in the world to drink coffee, even better than Italy.
I stand by that, and I'm even prepared to argue it over a cup. The week isn't all urban, though. One day we ride Puffing Billy, a century-old steam train up through the forests of the Dandenong Ranges. And one day we drive down along a stretch of the Great Ocean Road, built by hand over 13 years by soldiers returning from the First World War. It's a memorial to the friends they'd lost, and it's still the largest of its kind on Earth. It ends at the 12 Apostles, limestone towers standing out in the Southern Ocean. Only 8 are left, as the sea is slowly taking them back, which is a good argument for not putting this trip off for too long. Then we fly south, across the Bass Strait to Hobart, and Tasmania is where this trip changes tune. Hobart is Australia's second oldest capital, and it wears its age well. Georgian warehouses along the waterfront that once served whalers now hold galleries and Saturday markets, with Kunani, otherwise known as Mount Wellington, standing over the whole thing. An hour away is Port Arthur, the most intact convict settlement in the country. This was where the British Empire sent the men it had given up on, and the site doesn't dress that up. The penitentiary, the chapel, the solitary cells, they're all still there. Our members tend to go quiet at Port Arthur. It's not a comfortable place, but it's not meant to be. It's the foundation this country was actually built on, and Tasmania is honest about it in a way that sticks with you. The island balances that weight with what lives here. At Bonorong Wildlife Sanctuary, which is a refuge more than a zoo, you'll meet Tasmanian devils, wombats, echidnas, and animals that exist nowhere else on the planet. There's a day on Bruny Island where the oysters come out of the water in front of you, and the Coal River Valley nearby is quietly producing some of the country's benchmark Pinot Noir, which we'll investigate thoroughly. And then Sydney, back to where this video started. We begin the week the way I think you should meet this harbour, with a welcome to country ceremony led by a Gadigal guide on the foreshore. The Eora people, a name which simply means from this place, they've cared for this water for tens of thousands of years before a single British sail came through the heads. Hearing that history first changes how you see everything that comes after. From our base, you can walk to the Opera House, ride the Manly Ferry, which has been running since 1854 and still is the best 20 minutes of public transit anywhere. Or you can just follow the shoreline and see where it goes. One day, we'll head inland to the Blue Mountains. The name is literal. Eucalyptus oil hangs in the air, scattering the light, and the whole landscape reads blue. We'll stand at the Three Sisters, walk over to Wentworth Falls, and have lunch at a vineyard town in the Megalong Valley. And on the last evening, we board a private boat, just for us, for a cruise through the harbor as the light goes down. The Opera House, the bridge, the quiet coves in between. It ends at the exact view where I'm standing now. Now, the extension. After Sydney, those who want more fly north to Port Douglas for 4 nights, and this is the part built around something most of us have carried on a list for a long time, the Great Barrier Reef. We take a catamaran out to Agincourt Reef, which is on the outer edge, where the shelf drops into deep ocean and the coral is at its clearest. It's the largest living structure on Earth, and no photograph has ever done the job of actually floating over it. The other day, out there goes the opposite direction, into the Daintree, a rainforest that stood for over 135 million years, which makes it older than the Amazon. Reef one day, the oldest forest on Earth the next. That's a decent footnote to this trip.
I love the LiveAway concept. You don't have to be packing and unpacking. You can do as much or as little as you want. You're at your leisure, so I love the concept.
That's the trip. Around 12 to 18 of us, Canadians who'd rather live in a place for a while than race through it, with a wheel and anchor host from the first morning in Melbourne to the last one in Sydney. Plenty of time together when you want company, and plenty of room when you don't.
If you're ready to see the land down under not as a tourist, but as a guest of these incredible cities, I invite you to join us this coming season. You can download the full e-brochure right here on this page to see the specific details of our itinerary and where we'll be staying. I truly believe that this is the most thoughtful way to experience this extraordinary part of the world. I've got my flat white ready, and I look forward to welcoming you aboard.